It's all about dill today in the sartorial kitchen. I got a ton of dill out of the garden this year, and I'm doing cheddar dill scones. I'm also doing a kale salad with a dill vinaigrette, baked salmon with fresh lemon and dill, and I'm topping that with a homemade dill hollandaise sauce. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Back to the sartorial kitchen, everybody. Today is all about dill. My garden did me good this year, and this is wild dill that came up on its own, but I had a ton of it come up, and I said, you know what, let's do dill. Now you're probably expecting me to make pickles. Been there, done that. But no, I want to show that there's more uses for dill than pickling. So that's what we're going to do today. So we're starting with some salmon here. We're going to make a marinade. So I got some salmon from the butcher. It was a good deal on this. It was like 25% off, and I'm just going to take these skins off. So the trick to the skins, if you can get under it a little bit, and then you just kind of run your knife back and forth until you get it loose, and then you can kind of just peel it right off, and there's that skin, and then you're left with the beautiful fillet. Now, if I was pan frying this and like basting it, I would leave the skin on because I do enjoy a nice crispy skin on the fish. But I'm baking this, so I want it to have, I don't want the skin on. But we're going to be marinating it, getting some gorgeous flavors going on there. And we'll just get this other skin here. Alright, there are our two fillets. Let's get rid of this guy here. And let's move on to our marinade. So I have gloves on here. Anytime I'm working with meat, I like to glove up, so I can just slide these babies off and I don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Alright, so first thing I want to do is get a nice sprig of dill. We're going to do a couple here. I want to lay them on the fish as they bake, so I'm going to throw that in. And then we got some lemons here. I'll roll this baby out. Let me go ahead and grab a cutting board here. Release some of those juices. I will grab another knife. Okay, so I'm going to be juicing these for our salad and also for our hollandaise sauce, which is going to go on the fish. Very excited, love hollandaise sauce. But I want to get a few slices off of this baby here. Just a nice thin slice. I'm going to go ahead and take these seeds out as I see them. Let's go ahead and throw these in. Perfect. I also want some olive oil. That's going to help keep the fish from drying out in the oven. It's going to give a nice crust on it. Just enough to kind of coat the fish. That's all you need. And just some salt and pepper. I'm not really seasoning it with anything else. I really want to let the dill speak for itself. It's the star of the show today, and a little pepper. Let's seal this baby up. I do want to come in just a little bit, kind of massage that fish around a little bit, make sure it picks up all those flavors. And that's going to go in the fridge while we move on to our scones. Alright guys, moving on to our scones now. Getting our dough ready here. So first I need 2 cups of flour. Now scone, if you're not familiar, it's similar to a biscuit. You kind of have that crusty outside and it's soft on the inside. I'm doing cheddar dill, just to give something a little different. Okay, that looks good. I'm always very precise with my measurements, especially with flour. Too much, too little can really throw off the dish. So I fill it to the top and I just level it off to make sure that I have an even cup. Alright, there's 2 cups. I also need a teaspoon of baking powder. That's going to help these babies rise. Okay, there's a teaspoon. Just a few other things I want to get here. Some ground mustard. I want about a half teaspoon of that. It's going to add some nice rich flavor. And a pinch of salt. Perfect. And as you know, I've got my sifter out here. Always love to sift my flour. You just get a nice lighter product. And it helps incorporate all those seasonings and things like that. Alright, that is it for the dry ingredients. Now let's move on to the wet. Alright, next I've got some cold butter here. I'm using half of the stick for the scones, and the other half I'm going to be using for our hollandaise sauce. So we need about, a half stick here. And I'm just cubing it into small cubes. That's going to help incorporate it more easily. And I always cold butter when you're doing pastry. Melted butter for like cakes and things. Cold butter for pastry. That's kind of the rule of thumb. And that's really because what happens is the butter, it slowly melts in the oven and it reacts. And that's where you get those like nice flaky layers. It's from the butter, which you can't really do if it's melted. Okay, so that's our butter. Now first, I'm going to cut the butter into the flour. This is a pastry cutter, if you've never seen one of these. Just little lines here. You just kind of come down. This is good for shortening too, if you're working with like flour and shortening, or doing like biscuits, something like that. And we just really want those, really want that butter to get down to like little kind of pea size, kind of like you're doing a pie crust or something. Now, if you want, you can do this in the food processor. I try not to use the food processor too much when I'm working with flour, because you run the risk of overdeveloping the flour. Once that gluten kind of gets going, you end up with a really dense, kind of chewy product. No good. Nice little small butter pieces. Perfect. You want to work quick too before that butter starts to melt, so we still get the same result out of it. I'm just going to rinse my hands off a little bit, get some of that flour off. And then we can move on to the rest of our ingredients. So I need some milk next. You can use heavy cream if you want. I'm just doing 2% and I just need a half cup. And that is it, guys. I'm going to come in here with, I think I'll use the wooden spoon here, and just kind of fold that together. Again, if you want, you can use a mixer, but I don't mind to do things by hand. If your mixture is a little dry, you can always add a little more milk. Alright, once your mixture sort of comes together, then I just come in here with my hands. You can't be afraid to get your hands dirty sometimes. And I just kind of knead everything together, kind of push down, and just kind of fold everything onto itself. For our last two ingredients, can't have cheddar dill scones without some cheddar and some dill. So I need about a 1/4 cup of cheddar here, which doesn't sound like much, but it's actually a lot because these are only going to make a few servings. And I need some more of my dill, about a couple tablespoons, just enough that you know it's in there. I'm going to take it off the stem here. And I just come in with my knife and shave it. Kind of shave it off the stem. And this guy here. See, and you can see the dill stays on the cutting board. And then you get the stems. And then we'll just come in here and mince this up. Basically, I just kind of take my knife and go back and forth. I would say that's pretty good. I'm going to take that, throw that right in. And I waited to do this last. I wanted to make sure that our dough had kind of come together before I go adding other ingredients to it. What's great about scones, you can kind of make them any flavor you want. Sometimes I do like some dessert or kind of breakfast ones. I get some like fresh berries out of the garden. I like to kind of fold those in, raspberries, blueberries, things like that. Just add a little sugar, some vanilla, and then you've got yourself a nice, easy, hearty breakfast. Something you can just grab and go. So I've already got a baking sheet out here, and I've sprayed it with just a little nonstick spray. Oh yeah, this cheddar's going to get in here and it's going to just melt, give it a nice little crust. Alright, get rid of our bowl here. I'm just going to use the cutting board to kind of roll this out. I like to have it about a 1/2 inch thick. They're going to rise, but you can do, you can make them as big or as small as you like. And they just kind of come at the sides. They don't have to be perfect. That's how you know they're homemade. And then we just come in with our knife. And I'm just going to cut them into kind of triangle shapes. That's traditional for scones. So we'll get a piece here. Beautiful. And then I guess I can get another little triangle piece here in the middle. And there you have it. So I got 4 pieces out of that. If you roll it out thinner, you might be able to get closer to like maybe 6. But I think that's going to be a decent size there for us. And then they're just going to go straight in the oven. I've got it already preheated to 400. They're going to bake for about 18 to 20 minutes, give or take. We'll check them out. And in the meantime, I think I'm ready to get the salmon started. Alright guys, time to get the salmon going. Just going to try and gently pull out these fillets. We want to gather our lemons as well. So I've got a baking sheet here. I've just lined with some foil to keep our salmon from sticking. And then we're going to start with our lemons first. Just lay those on top. Oh, and this already smells so fragrant. Then we'll take, I'm just going to lay the dill on top. It's really just to get us some nice flavor on the salmon. We're not actually going to eat it like this, although it does make nice for a garnish. Alright, and that salmon is ready to go in the oven, but I need to wash my hands real quick. The great thing about the salmon, it's going to cook at the same temperature as the dill. So I'm just going to throw, actually I think, we'll move our scones to the top so we get a nice color on them. The salmon will go underneath, so it'll kind of steam a little bit as it bakes. And it's going to cook roughly around the same time as the scones, about 18 to 22 minutes. We'll give it a little check here in a second. In the meantime, let's prep our salad. Alright guys, salad time. I'm doing a nice little kale salad. It's going to have some dill in it. I thought it'd be a nice little fresh component to go with the salmon. So we're starting on the vinaigrette. I always love to start with the vinaigrette because you can mix it up, throw in whatever veggies you want, and just toss it all together. Easy, bing, bang, boom, done. So, I'm starting with some olive oil here. We need about a couple tablespoons or so. Alright, that's pretty good. I also need some Dijon mustard. I just like a nice kind of hearty mustard, nothing, not like that yellow stadium mustard, and just about a teaspoon of that. And then we're going to juice the rest of our little lemon from earlier. Love the smell of lemon. It's like one of my favorite fruits, actually. Alright. And then some salt and pepper here to taste. A little pepper. Beautiful. And give it a nice little whisk. Emulsify the mustard and the olive oil. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? But we aren't finished yet. I'm going to have a little dill in the dressing. And I'm also going to put some in the salad as well. So it's going to be dill, dill, dill. So again, I'm just going to come in here and kind of mince this dill. Just kind of take the knife back and forth. Oh yeah, that's nice. And that was just about a teaspoon or so. Just stir that in. That dill is so fragrant, guys. If you're not familiar with dill, it's nice and fragrant. And look at the color on that dressing. Gorgeous. And then we've got my kale. Also from out of the garden. Yes. Just like the dill, I had some wild kale come up as well. Just one big giant stalk, and it's been feeding me all summer. And the great thing about kale is it'll actually grow into the fall. It starts out kind of in the early spring. It's a cold weather crop, and you can get it sometimes as late as October, November. I've still had kale coming in, and I'm just kind of breaking this up a little. One, it's going to be a similar size to the cucumber, but then I also want to make sure that it gets coated with that vinaigrette nicely. Just depending on how big the leaves are. When you get it from the store, sometimes you get those giant leaves. So I just like to be mindful of that. Now we're just going to come in here with a spoon and toss everything around. I want to make sure everything gets coated in that gorgeous vinaigrette, and just look how it's clinging to the cucumbers and the kale. A good vinaigrette is going to really cling to your veggies, guys. That's how you know you've emulsified it properly. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to set that aside. We'll finish it off when we go to plate our salmon. And I've just got one more thing, and that is the hollandaise sauce. Alright, time for a hollandaise. I've already got some butter here. It's the rest of our stick. I'm letting it melt down. We also need some eggs. So if you're not familiar with the hollandaise sauce, It's basically eggs, butter, lemon, and you just kind of flavor it how you like. Now, I'm separating these eggs, which is where you get the yolk and the white separate from each other. Now, the easiest way to do this for me, now if you have like an egg separator, like that's great. It holds the yolk and then takes the white. But I usually just take the shells here and kind of pull that apart, and then that yolk goes in there by itself. And then we'll take the other one here, and you want to be gentle cracking that egg so you have the shell to use. And then as you're going across, be careful not to perforate the yolk where it comes apart and then it goes into the whites, and that's not good. Alright, that's pretty good, and we'll throw that baby in. Get rid of this. Save that for a healthy omelet later. Alright, season this baby up. Some salt, some pepper, for a nice little added bit of flavor. I'm going to do just a pinch of cayenne. Woo. And a little more of that mustard from earlier. Beautiful. Alright, so that butter's looking good. It's going to toast. So we're going to be tempering the eggs. First, I need my lemon. If you're not familiar with the process of tempering, it's where you take a hot item like the butter there, and you add it to something cold, and what it does is it brings up the temperature just a little bit, just enough to, you know what, I don't think I need that lemon after all. Rinse this baby off though. Alright, so I'm going to break up that yolk, stir it into our lemon and everything here. And that butter, oh, that butter looks good. I love the smell of brown butter, it just adds like a nuttiness. I'm just going to slowly pour it in to our egg mixture here. And stir those eggs. Stir, 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 stir. And leave that on a low heat, and you stir, stir, stir. And then what happens is that butter kind of slowly warms the eggs without actually cooking them. We don't want to dump the eggs directly into that butter because we'll end up with scrambled eggs, and then we won't have our hollandaise sauce. Okay, so our egg mixture, and I do this on a very low heat. Now I'm going to pop the eggs back into our saucepan here, and I just want to stir. You stir to keep the eggs from sticking to the bottom of the pan. They're going to bubble up a little bit, get a little foamy, and then your sauce will start to thicken up, and that's how you know it's done. Now while I let that go for just a minute or two, we'll take out our scones and we'll take out our salmon. Oh, look at those scones. Mmm. Nice and beautiful, crusty. That salmon's looking pretty good too. I'm going to turn the oven off, and I'm going to let that salmon rest. And there, it'll continue to cook just a little bit in that heat. And we're going to turn this sauce off. It is already nice and thick. It's almost like a, almost kind of looks like polenta or grits in a way. Oh, that looks beautiful. Now, the last thing is more dill. I said I was going to do some dill with the hollandaise, and I wanted to fold it in last. And throw that right in. I'm just going to stir that in. It gives it a nice, gorgeous green color. Amazing. And let's get our salmon out and plate up. Alright, now all we need is a little plate here. We start with the salmon here. Get a nice chunk of that salmon. I already went ahead and removed the dill fronds that was mostly aromatic. It wasn't to actually eat. And then I want to get one of these scones here. Oh, look at that. Nice crust. So exciting. Okay. Let's get some of this kale salad. I want to make sure I get some of those cucumbers. Alright, and then I just have one more thing for the salad. I mentioned before, I got some feta. What's a salad without cheese, right? And I thought the feta would be a nice little garnish. It's going to add a nice pop of color, give it a nice kind of salty note. Oh, that's gorgeous. And last but not least, our hollandaise sauce. I think I can get rid of this guy here. And we'll just come in with a spoon and just ladle that sauce. I think I'll move my lemons to the side as well, although I do plan to eat those. And I just kind of drizzle it all over the top. Now tell me, that does not look like a nice little feast. Alright guys, let's give it a taste. I think first we'll come in here and grab some of that salmon. Just look how it just kind of flakes away. Beautiful. Until it's done, because you have that nice kind of light pink color on the inside. Not bad. Salmon is nice and tender. It's kind of a mild fish. I don't think it's as strong as some other fishes. If you've ever had the can, you're probably like, but the fresh stuff, just a whole nother level. That sauce, lemon and seafood go great together. So the hollandaise is perfect for that. The dill just adds a nice little fragrant note. So good. Alright, let's grab some of this salad here. Make sure I get a little bit of everything on one bite. Yum. Okay. So that vinaigrette, it's got the lemon in it, so it's a little acidic. You get the richness of that Dijon. Really taste the dill. I love the feta. Just gives it a nice little salty note. So good. And of course, you know I have to try one of these scones. Look at that. You hear that crunch? You can see I got a nice crust on the outside. Nice and soft in the middle. You get a little bit of gooiness from that cheese. So good. Well, I'm going to finish up my meal here. But once again, I appreciate you for joining me in the kitchen. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments section. And until next time, bon appetit.